Here's a story of a Lord of the Rings hobbit with Dpdr disorder, titled A Hobbit's Journey Through the Fog. In a quiet corner of the Shire, nestled between the rolling green hills and whispering streams, was a peculiar hobbit named Perrin Hillfoot. Perrin wasn't like the other hobbits who delighted in gardening feasts and parties under the stars. For as long as he could remember, Perrin often felt as though he wasn't fully part of the world around him. Life seemed distant, like he was watching himself move through it from far away, and the vibrant colors of the Shire seemed muted, shrouded in a fog he couldn't shake. This feeling had a name: depersonalization derealization disorder, DPDR. The fog descends. One morning, Perrin sat on his porch, staring at the morning dew sparkling on the grass. But he didn't feel its usual warmth and comfort. The world felt strange, like a painting he couldn't touch. His own hands resting on his lap looked unfamiliar, like they belonged to someone else. His heart raced and his thoughts spiraled. Am I real? Is this real? The other hobbits in the village often called him dreamy or odd. Perrin's got his head in the clouds again, they'd laugh, but it wasn't just daydreaming. Perrin felt trapped in a shadowy bubble, separated from his friends and his home. When the feeling overwhelmed him, he'd retreat to his cozy burrow, hoping the familiar space would ground him. But even there, the walls seemed farther away, and the warm fire felt cold. A call to adventure. One day, Perrin received a visit from the wizard Gandalf, and noticed the hobbit's distant expression. You look as though you've wandered off without leaving, Gandalf said, his piercing eyes filled with concern. Perrin hesitated, but confessed. It's as if I'm here but not here, Gandalf. I see the world, but it feels unreal. Even my own thoughts sometimes don't feel like mine. Gandalf listened intently and then smiled gently. Perhaps a journey will help you find what's missing, Perrin. Sometimes stepping out into the unknown can help us see the familiar in a new light. The hesitant Perrin agreed. Gandalf gave him a simple task: to deliver a mysterious package to a healer in the distant woods of Arid Hollow. It was a small adventure, but for Perrin it was monumental. The journey begins. As Perrin set out, the fog of his mind followed him, but so did the beauty of the Shire. He walked past blooming sunflowers and waving streams. It still felt disconnected. Why can't I feel the joy of this, he wondered, but something curious happened as he walked. The rhythm of his steps and the crunch of the dirt beneath his feet began to ground him. The weight of his small pack on his shoulders reminded him of the here and now. When he stopped by a brook to rest, a curious squirrel scampered up to him. For a moment, Perrin felt the fog lift slightly as he watched its tiny paws work at a nut. He took a deep breath, focusing on the cool air filling his lungs, and felt a flicker of connection to the world. The dark forest. As Perrin entered the dense woods of Arid Hollow, the fog seemed to thicken, both in his mind and in the air around him. Shadows danced among the trees, and strange whispers filled the night. His thoughts spiraled again. What if I'm lost? What if this isn't real? In his panic, Perrin stumbled and fell, clutching the package tightly to his chest. He sat there, trembling, feeling utterly detached from his body and the world. But then he remembered Gandalf's words, "Step into the unknown." Perrin closed his eyes and began to focus on the small things, the rough texture of the package in his hands, the damp earth beneath him, and the steady rhythm of his breath. Slowly the fear subsided, and the fog lifted just enough for him to gather his courage. A meeting with the healer. At last, Perrin reached a small cottage hidden deep within the forest. The healer, an elf named Lirian, greeted him warmly. "You've come far, little one," she said, taking the package, "but you carry more than this parcel, don't you?" Perrin hesitated but nodded, explaining his feelings of detachment and unreality. Lirian listened with the same patience as Gandalf and offered him tea made from herbs that sharpened the senses. "Your mind has learned to protect itself by stepping away from the world," she said, "but you can step back into it. Little by little, you're braver than you realize. Look at how far you've come." The return home. On his journey back to the Shire, Perrin practiced grounding techniques Lirian taught him, focusing on the present moment, naming things he could see, hear, and feel. Each step felt a little more real and a little more connected. By the time he reached his burrow, Perrin still felt the occasional fog, but he also felt something new: hope. He realized that while the fog might come and go, he could learn to navigate through it and find joy in the small, grounding moments of life. Conclusion. From then on, Perrin became known not as the dreamy hobbit, but as the hobbit who found beauty even in the fog. His journey wasn't just about delivering a package, it was about learning to live fully, even when the world felt unreal. His story reminds us all that even in our darkest moments, there's a path forward, one small step at a time.